Hello, I'm Jerry Wallace. Welcome to Gateway to Opportunities with Muskegon Community College. I'm joined by Ms. Heidi and Ellie. They're here with Muskegon Community College. There's some enrollment services reps, and they're going to let us know a little bit about some opportunities that are available.
Thanks for having us here today, Jerry.
If someone is interested in attending college, what are some of the steps that they might have to start off doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll take that one away. The first thing, obviously, they would need to do is apply. Our application is online, right on the homepage. It's muskegoncc.edu. They would click apply now. It is a completely free application, and even better, everybody's accepted. So that would be the first thing they would need to do. Once they get to the end page and it says thank you for your application, they will receive a letter in the mail saying they've been accepted within probably a week. And that has actually a checklist that we're talking about today in a paper format, which actually looks like this, that they'll get in the mail. So that's the first step.
Okay.
Yeah, like Heidi said, I think it's really important to remember the application's completely free. So anyone, can apply, even if you're not 100% sure if you're going to go to MCC or you're looking at, a few colleges. Just apply to MCC. It's free, and then we can get you more information about exactly, what you would be doing here at MCC. So that first step, how long would you say the application takes? It's not, you don't have to write a real long essay. It's
Yeah, there's no essay, no ACT scores required. It's just, I would say, like 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, 10 or 15 minutes online, and the application's done. So just that first step, really, you can do from home. If that's easier for you, you can come down to the campus and we can help with the application. But that first one is just getting the application in, and then, from there, everything does roll out.
Oh, sounds great. So after you get the application in, what would be the next step? Just wondering.
So Heidi mentioned that you will be contacted from MCC 5 or 10 business days, say, give or take, after that application has been completed. That letter and information in the mail is going to give some more instructions. One of those would be to contact your high school. One thing that we will need is a high school or GED transcript to be sent to MCC. So that usually is a pretty simple process to just contact wherever you went to school to let them know that you'd like a transcript sent to MCC. You don't have to pick it up. The school will send it right to us. They'll mail it to us in order to make it an official high school or GED transcript. So that's one thing that we would need to have turned in. It doesn't have to be by a very certain date, but usually just calling and getting it out of the way is pretty simple. It's easy to do that first.
Something to think about, just to add to that, high school seniors, you can send them in before you graduate if they have like the ACT scores on it, but I'd also like to emphasize that they will need an official transcript saying they graduated once they have completed high school. So that's just something I was thinking about while you were talking about that. So that's something they need to do as well.
Okay, Heidi, I noticed you guys were talking about high school seniors. Is there any special process for someone who's transferring in maybe from a different college?
Yeah, absolutely. We get that a lot. So you'll be transferring from another college. What you need to do to transfer those specific credits would be to contact the college that you went to before. That transcript will have to be mailed over to our college. And that's how that would work. It goes through a transcript evaluation to see what credits come back to our college.
We're talking about snail mail a lot, and that's important because that's what makes the transcript official if it's mailed right from one college to the other college or one high school to our college. There is one other way to send an official transcript, however, and that is through an online system. So for high schoolers, it's usually called Parchment or DocuFied. Yep. So many universities and colleges use DocuFied. So students can send official transcripts in order to transfer credits from a college or high school transcripts from a high school, obviously. So those online accounts we do accept. So students can go online to make an account if their current high school or college uses those systems. That's still official because it's still going from one institution right to the other directly.
Okay. Well, you guys have explained some great steps and things that people can do to get started. Another thing that people worry about is the cost. So is there any help that you guys offer as far as helping with the cost of paying for college?
Definitely. I would say that's the number one thing I hear out in the field are people concerned about paying for college, and that's definitely something that we help with.
Oh yeah.
There's a system for applying for financial aid. The financial aid process is also sometimes just referred to as FAFSA. That's an abbreviation for Free Application for Federal Student Aid. So students need to fill out that free application, the FAFSA, in order to apply for financial aid. We have free workshops for that on a weekly basis on Fridays. It's a walk-in service at Muskegon Community College. It's in our orientation room, so people can show up to get some help with that. It's pretty much every Friday for the most part, but the big times of year that students really push to fill that out would be in February and March.
Yeah, definitely important. Some students can qualify for thousands of dollars in grants that can go towards their tuition. And for those of you who don't know what a grant is, that is money you don't have to pay back.
Oh.
They can qualify for work study. They can work. That means they can work on campus and earn some money while they're going to school, as well as the loans, which we'll try to avoid those at all costs with the work study and the grants. But if needed, the loans are available through that financial aid as well. So I always say the sooner you can get that done, January, February, March, the better off you are finding out what you're eligible for.
And that would be to start classes in the fall time.
Yep.
So it really is quite early that it's recommended. Students, if you want to start in a fall semester, so you're looking to start at the very end of August, and you missed the March deadline, that's okay. You can still apply, and we can help with that. Those are just kind of the priority deadlines that are needed to guarantee that will be processed and ready by the time school starts. One other thing about the FAFSA I want to make sure is clear is that all of those opportunities that you were mentioning, Heidi, those are not based on your grades. You don't have to have a specific grade point average or ACT score for that kind of financial aid. Like you said, if you're eligible, that's what the whole application is they go through and ask you some questions to see if you'd be eligible for that type of aid. But that's need-based aid. So it's based, on maybe on your income, family income, and a lot of other questions, family size. They'll go through a bunch of different stuff. But what it's not based on from the get-go is your grade point average coming out of high school. There are some standards that you'll have to keep up with in order to continue using financial aid. But that kind of information, those details are given to students a little bit later in our application process. So I'm sure that will come back up again.
I noticed that you guys were speaking about ACT scores. How is that transferred to MCC? Is there a standard or anything that students should be looking out for if they're going to MCC?
Something to think about. Like we said earlier, the first step was to apply. No ACT scores, no essay, everybody's accepted. Don't think that's your free ticket, okay? Still take that ACT seriously if you're still in high school and thinking about taking the ACT soon, because those scores can reflect what classes you get placed to in college. The better scores you have on the ACT, the classes options are much better for you. So definitely keep that in mind. Also scholarships too. We took the words out of each other's mouth. Scholarships. A lot of scholarships will require ACT scores be present. Still essays, definitely fill out those scholarships if you're eligible for them. But for those of the students that don't meet the ACT requirements, we do have what's called a compass test. And that is not timed. You do not have to pay for it. You just need to schedule a time to take it. And those scores, the counselor will sit down with you, look at those scores, and it'll show what classes you could be eligible for taking.
Yeah, the compass test is like at any college or university that a student would start with, there's going to be some kind of placement test. It's called a test, but it's not really a test you're going to fail. It's a test to just show what level of classes to start with. That's also at MCC, we offer it for free. It's a placement test like that isn't free everywhere, but we want to make sure that that it's free for students so that money isn't an issue to getting started. So
I know I'm a student that when you say the word test, I run the other way. But keep in mind, this test is not timed. If you do have to take all 3 portions of it, they say the average is about 2 hours, but keep in mind if you do need to take a little bit longer, it's not the end of the world. So free, not timed.
And it's on a computer. You're not filling in all those little
It's really nothing to stress about. Like I said, I was one of those students. I go to class every day, but you say test, and I'm like, no, thank you. So don't stress too much about it. Obviously, do well. Do your best.
Yeah.
But
take it seriously, but it's not something to really get anxious over. It's a much more relaxed test than like a final exam or something like that.
Something else too, now that I'm thinking about all this. There is review material on the website. links that they can review before they take the Compass test on the testing center's website. So that's something they can be prepared a little bit.
Yeah,
so.
and it really is recommended. The Compass placement test covers a wide range, especially for math. So if you are a senior in high school, depending on what math classes you took kind of along the way in your academic career thus far, the Compass test might be going back 5 or 6 years to start. The very beginning is going to ask about a certain type of math that maybe you haven't seen in quite a while. So the placement practice, the practice tests and the practice and example questions, really important, because it might be some information that you do know, but just if I took a math test after not doing any math for 5 years,
I don't know how I would do today.
I'd place really low, but the then in the class it might all come back to me, and then we don't want you to be placed in a class that's too easy for you and that's going to waste your time. So if you do that practice test, it's just much more likely that all that stuff's going to come back to your memory, and then you'll do well on the test.
Okay. Well, we've gone through some steps. Let's say somebody has been accepted, they filled out all their paperwork, and they're ready to go. Do they just sign up for classes, or do they come on campus for a tour? What would be the next step? Is there orientation, or how
Exactly that last one you just said. There is a new student orientation, and that's critically important. The new student orientation is where students are going to be trained how to sign up for classes, what classes are available. Okay, so if I do sign up for classes and I have my schedule, what resources are on campus? All of those questions that you might not even realize you have as a student, are going to be answered in new student orientation. So that's a really important step for students to take.
Something to add, that you get an MCC email account. So that is the only way pretty much we get a hold of the students. So if the class happened to be canceled by the professor, they email the students.
Oh, that's great.
So they need to know that information in Blackboard. If you don't know what that is, that's for online classes or some in-class. Professors will use that as well. The students log in, they'll get all that information, their username, their password. So I would like to say it's mandatory. You learn a ton of information in there that will benefit you and help you as a student.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only other thing I would recommend about orientation, because of those examples that you gave of all the things that students learn, it's so important in order to be ready for your classes. Yeah. The only thing I would say is if you have an opportunity to do orientation early, sign up earlier rather than later, because it just doesn't, in orientation you're just getting information, so the earlier you have that information, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah. So following orientation, do the students, are they just left on their own to pick out their classes? I know when I was in college, I had counselors. So do you guys have counselors, or is there any help for the students?
Oh yeah, I would definitely recommend that all students see a counselor before they get started. Obviously, make sure that you have your ACT scores here or your Compass test done before you see a counselor. Why? Because they can look that up on the computer right when you're sitting in their office and help you based on what you're going into, talk to them. Definitely make an appointment when it comes to seeing them, because they're very, very busy. And you want to have the time to talk to them about what you're going into. Are you transferring? Do you want a degree here? There's a lot of different options to sit down and talk to them about, and they will help you pick out your classes.
Yeah. Are you undecided?
Yeah.
That's a big one. Yeah. So if you're not sure what you're going to study in college, but you know you need to start college, we have counselors who specialize in helping with that specifically, to assisting undecided students. So there are a million reasons to go see a counselor, but that very first semester is
crucial.
Just to get started on the right foot, so that you're not taking classes you don't need, that kind of a thing.
Okay. Well, seems like we got a lot of information. Is there anything else you would like to add to anybody getting started or tapping into this great opportunity at Muskegon Community College?
I can think of one thing which we didn't cover, which is it is covered in orientation, but once they register for their classes, which will be done after they go to orientation and see a counselor and everything like that, they will need to get a student ID. And that, Ellie and I were talking earlier, is kind of like makes it official. That means you're registered for your classes, you go get your picture taken, and you get your student ID. So really important that you get that. That could be a whole nother segment, I think, when it comes to explaining that and what all goes about. But it's used in the bookstore. It is your library card. Also, there's payments or like reimbursements
for financial aid purposes.
You're going to need it. So get that student ID. It is very important, and that would be the last step. And then get your books, go to class, and I would say they're good to go.
Yeah. So the most important thing, I guess, goes right back to where we started. For students who are looking into college, interested in MCC, just take that step and do the application, and you're going to get all this information from there.
Yep.
Well, we got a lot of great information. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us.
Thanks.